And hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. So in this course we'll actually be talking about CSS, or in other words, cascading style sheets. Now before we actually get into anything, what should you know in order to follow along with this course? You should know HTML. You should have a basic understanding of HTML and how HTML works. Either HTML or XML, but HTML is generally the one you want to know. I do have a full HTML course right here actually. I'll leave a link to this in the description probably, just notify me if I don't. It's a full HTML crash course which is 3 hours and you'll know everything you need to know about HTML. So if you know HTML, you're ready to learn CSS, so cascading style sheets. CSS is what you use to make HTML look good. Because HTML sucks, it looks terrible, it's awful. I never like just looking at pure HTML because it doesn't have any eye candy, and you need that. So I'm going to give you a quick example of CSS to kind of get you introduced to what we'll be working with. So here I have an HTML page. This is linked up to my auto refresh plugin I have. So here if I go to my extensions, live server, then here we go. This is the extension I'm using and it will automatically refresh this for me. So when I make a change here on the page or on my CSS, it will refresh. Cool. Now you can create a CSS file. I called mine style.css. You can call yours whatever you want, but style.css is just what I'm using here. And as long as it ends in .css, you'll get syntax highlighting and whatnot. Next up, you want to link this CSS file to this HTML file. There are multiple ways you can do this. First of all, if you want to use CSS, you can actually do it here. For example, style is equal to, and then here you can put valid CSS. Color, red. This is valid CSS. If I save this, the text color will be red. It's very easy to read. It's just color. What color do you want it to be? And then the color name, red. An alternative method you can use is the style tag, and this will apply styling without needing a CSS file. So here we can say h1. This is called a selector. We are selecting this h1 element right here. So this h1 is selecting this one here. If you have multiple h1s, then it will select both the first and the second one. It will select all of the h1s. So we say color green, then both of them will be green. But if I change this to an h2, one will be green because the other one does not have style assigned to it. We'll get deeper into this concept as we go along, but this is just so you understand a little bit. However, these two methods are generally not recommended. They're usually recommended if you have minor tweaks or your website is really small and you don't plan for it to be very big. What you should have is the CSS file instead. I'm going to copy this or just cut it and paste it here. So now the CSS is in this file. Let's make this blue so you can actually see the change. I'm going to remove this and then we should link it. We can go link and this will link a style sheet and we can just say style.css. Note that this style.css is in the same folder as this index.html. They're in the same folder. If I save, my text is blue because the style CSS says blue. We will be using a file for most of this course, but you could use any of these methods I've shown you. The inline method where you change them specifically depending on the element, or the one where you have a style tag here and you put CSS in here, or its own file, whichever you prefer. But that's the basics. CSS just helps us to change how our HTML looks and makes our HTML look better. And that's the basics of CSS. That's what it is. It's just a style sheet. You're just giving it a bunch of rules. CSS is incredibly easy. As you can see, it's straightforward. It's color and then the color name. And it's like this for everything. Let's say you want to change this font size. You can just say font-size. And here you could say large. Now large here in this case isn't a lot, but you could also use pixels. For example, 20 pixels or 60 pixels. We'll get into pixels, rem and whatnot later, but this is an idea. So you'll see everything is straightforward and really easy to learn. In the next tutorial, we'll be diving a bit deeper into these concepts. But for right now, if you could get your CSS to run here, and remember to refresh your page if you do not have that plugin. But if you could get it to run here, then you have done good enough and we can go to the next tutorial.